Boom, boom. I can hear it now. And suit sock. Know your Billy Walsh.
No sleeves. Hats.
Actually, let me grab something before we start. Have your sponsors at the table. Oh yeah.
I just got the. I actually just got new vapes.
You like the vape or you like the oil?
I don't know. To be determined.
Which ones have you tried?
I haven't done that yet. Is it just like on your tongue?
Yeah.
All right, no.
Go ahead.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Go ahead. We cue right in. People won't even know that we're doing this.
Will they know that I can't open it?
Well, it's child-proof. They're going to start assuming things about you.
Yeah, for real. This guy's a child.
Push down. You may have broke it. Oh, he's got it.
Are we talking that big? Or?
You can do 2 drops. I mean, I don't have a filter, so I just take a lot. You know, so go 1, 2, 3, 4. Ah, good. You're not going to die. Even though it's non-psychoactive, you're not going to overdo it.
This is only CBD?
Just CBD, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, people still freak out. They're like, oh,
Really?
my God, how much should I take? I mean, because it's me, I'll put like 3 whole tubes in there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you're an athlete, you got to cure that inflammation somehow.
There you go.
Because, I mean, even now, look at my hands from the gym this morning.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to heal that.
More. Just put it directly on there.
Just put this shit directly on there?
One drop on each callus.
The power of CBD oil from Green Roads World. Promo code on the bus for a 15% discount. This is not even the intros. I shouldn't be pitching.
Well, that was pretty smooth, though. Well done.
Transitions, baby. Transitions. Welcome on the show, man.
Yeah, man. I'm happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. First podcast or?
Second.
What was your first?
I did another podcast that was more like specifically for fitness. Yeah.
Cool. We're doing a little bit more. People
Yeah,
a little bit more.
That's what I'm all about, man.
I know all your questions you put on Instagram for people to ask, you know, to tune in and find out.
Trying to put it a little bit more broad, you know?
I hear you. I mean, because mostly, people see you on Instagram. It's I see you as the white beater, Mr. Mobility Trainer.
Exactly.
I mean, you're still rocking those things.
Have to, man.
You have to?
Well, I mean, you know, the clinic gets pretty hot, man, especially during the summer. So I'm not going to be in there long sleeving it, that's for sure.
It's a good justification right there.
You know, the truth is, in winter, I'm wearing, you know, a Nike tank top all winter too.
I mean, I'm just gonna rock a tank regardless.
Yeah, my mentor made fun of me all the time about that. But
well, the white beater one, I mean, no one rocks those.
I mean, I really have.
I would say no one. I haven't seen.
What do you mean wife beater wise? Like actual like Hanes wife beater?
Yeah, I've seen a few videos rocking. No, that's not a white beater.
No.
Oh, my apologies then.
No, come on.
Make sure. I mean, I stopped middle school myself.
Well, okay, so like there's a tank top that looks like a wife beater, but it's a Jordan brand. You know, like is that a wife beater?
No,
it's white?
No. I wouldn't count that.
Mello would wear it, right? That's got to be maybe not a bad time for that.
Another justification. This time
go.
they're mellow.
Yeah.
Interesting play.
We'll take it.
Your podcast ready, sir.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, you are, I call you Mr. Mobility. I mean, and I think a lot of people I know in fitness and training, they know you as, you know, this mobility expert. But a lot of stuff you do is just, it's out there. It's stuff, I mean, you don't see, I mean, people in a gym, a normal gym, you go to a Planet Fitness, even an NYSC. I mean, people are doing their bench press. They're doing maybe some squats, but that's the most you're going to see anybody do. And, you know, I think we're just still getting out of the trend in fitness of just drinking protein shakes. I mean, that's what fitness is to a lot of people. Just you got your shaker, throw your protein in there, and you're good. You're good. Doesn't matter if you exercise. I mean, you're doing it. But what is it that you do that's so unique?
So, I mean, I think it's really, you know, the times are changing, and, you know, it's just like anything else. There's a lot of people doing things wrong or doing things that are, you know, not as efficient. Within the fitness industry, especially in New York, you know, people do too much. It's just as simple, like someone that's working out 7 days a week, they could get so much more out of doing 4 days a week, doing less time and doing the right stuff. But for me, it's really all about prerequisites. So, you know, before you bench press, your shoulders should be able to have a certain amount of internal rotation. Before you squat, you should have a certain amount of hip flexion. And everybody just walks right in, walks on the treadmill for 5 minutes, and they load up their body and they're hurt. they end up with me anyway, so we kind of just reverse and, figure it out together. But it's just a different approach. But I think it's tough because within my, the people that I'm seeing or the people that I'm looking to are doing the similar stuff and like really working hard on the smart way. So it's, I understand that there's still a lot of people stuck in the past, but that should change. And I think with education, it changes, which is one of my big things is trying to, take people to be students and not be, I'm just doing this thing that this guy said on Instagram. It's like, well, think, why are you doing it? It's kind of important.
But that's also the problem because, I mean, you could make the comparison to photography. Everyone is a professional trainer now. Anybody can get on Instagram and start doing shit. And I mean, that's the great thing about it because we can tailor unique fitness strategies and training programs to people, that may have may be able to walk in the gym, because they have that great rotation and mobility to get all the way down into that squat before they even get into the gym. And maybe you could jump right in and do a 50% body weight or 50% max squat to get warmed up with.
For sure. There's definitely different levels to it. I mean, it's just if someone's selling you a bubble tea, don't listen to them. If someone's wearing a waist trainer, don't listen to them. There's some pretty solid rules that you can go by. If every post someone puts up is a motivational quote, might not be the smartest person to listen to. You know what I mean? Obviously, you can give or take a few of those, but
give me a few more rules. You got some good ones.
I mean, I think that the bubble tea is really blowing up. I think even like people, if you're on World Star, probably not there too. So they have like the World Star Girl of the Day, and they're like constantly just using their lower back and calling it a glute workout. I mean, that drives me nuts too. But yeah, those are, supplements, if someone's all about supplements, that's one. Really, even if you go farther and there's someone who's actually intelligent, one of the things that I really try to stay away from is if there's someone who's only about their system, their way, and they talk negatively about other people. Like, if you know anything in the industry and you're convinced that you're the only one making a change, like, the bubble tea people are making a change. There's some people that actually, the tea doesn't do anything for them, but they just started working out a little bit, and all of a sudden they lose 20 pounds. Like, there's people making changes everywhere, so that is one of the big ones that I personally despise is, like...
Is that tapioca or no tapioca in that bubble tea?
I don't know. I've never even had one, man, honestly. I'll die before I do that.
Neither will I.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
Ugh. You're too smart.
Guilty as charged with the intelligence. I'll take that one.
Yeah.
What is it that you would say is so unique about your program, when people are coming in to get some training or getting some rehab?
I think it's really a mixture of, meeting someone where they are, for sure. It's very scalable. And I think it all comes back to the idea of like making someone a student, because one of the things I take pride in is that like one of the people that's training with me could go to someone else and help them. I had on a weekly basis, someone comes in, they're like, my uncle was having back pain. I showed him 10 minutes of what we do with the spine, and all of a sudden his back pain was gone. He's like, I'm a miracle worker. I'm like, cool, man, good. But that really separates that is the ability to actually grasp what you're doing, because there's so many people that are just following, like, I'm just going to do this because he's doing it, or I'm just going to follow this blindly. Knowing why you're doing something is so important. And then on top of that, just integrating strength with it. Like, the idea that there's mobility and then there's strength is just foolish, because like the reality is like you're training your end range, but like if you were to come to a session with me, like you'd be working your ass off in that end range, and you'd be like, this is kind of like strength training. Like 10 minutes in, you look up and I'd be like, no, it is. This is exactly what you're doing. Just because there's not a weight there doesn't mean that it's not. So that's what I would really say is, being a student is something that separates it. And then the idea of kind of seamlessly putting in strength and, the mobility work together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people don't realize a great program was Christopher Summers. He's like the U.S. gymnastics coach. Mm-hmm. And some of the, movement and mobility strengthening that I worked on, completely changed my life.
Yeah.
Especially with like a Jefferson curl.
Mm-hmm.
I will live and die by that thing now.
Exactly.
Weighted and no weight. Just, as a warm-up, going down, keeping that chin tucked, and restacking the spine on the way up. It's revolutionary. It's so simple. And
true.
Again, gymnasts aren't out there lifting weights like very intensely or crazy, but they also are the strongest athletes.
Yeah,
just
especially
adding those movements.
Yeah, it's true. Especially with the Jefferson curl, people are so obsessed with posture and the idea of like you should never round your back, but like the idea is, you know, if you can't round your back, then you're screwed. You need to be able to round your back, you need to be able to extend, but the actual anatomy of your spine is built to where the first movement that you should be able to clear for your spine is flexion. And it's not just flexion of like, I want to be able to round my upper back. It's can you segmentally flex? So it's can you flex each vertebrae one after the other, which is exactly what the Jefferson curl is.
Mm-hmm.
And when you gain control over your spine, then things like back pain slowly start going away. And it's like, wow, you know, I know I'm in a bad position. I can fix this. And when you're able to build strength in those compromised positions, which is farther down the road, then like the inevitable happens. People get in bad positions. Like me and you know, like you're playing basketball. Like, dude, you're not gonna come down perfect every time. But if you've been strong in that position, you came down and that was a mistake, then it's a difference between you playing the next play or you being hurt for 6 weeks, you know? So, like, that's a really big deal.
Absolutely. It's training for those scenarios, training for every possible situation you may come across or may come across in any situation. A playing field, you know, the gym, you know, that movement, you might slip up, you might mess up. And I mean, knowing not just with your body, but your mind. Your mind's been there. And I mean, I think comes down to training in any sport. Like, let's push ourselves as hard, as fast as we can. So when we get there, it's like, oh yeah, been down 20 in practice before.
Yeah.
We came back before. Or I've been there where I've thought I could have no more juice left in the tank, and I was able to find that. I mean, that's where the mental side comes in on that.
Definitely.
Now, what is it? What kind of stretches and what kind of exercises are unique to your programs? And, like, what do you think is just, like, you know, Jefferson curl for me? What's one for you that's, like, needs to be done? Anybody can do it.
So, essentially, there's, you know, a whole entire daily mobility routine, which comes out of the FRC system. So, I wouldn't say it's specific to me, but it's part of the main system that I incorporate within my system or my training. And that's controlled articular rotations, and it's really a simple way or an advanced way of saying joint circles.
Yeah.
So
Cars.
Yeah, exactly.
I just put it together.
Cars.
You're
like,
big on
I'll
those.
never stop talking about them. But it's really as simple as, like, if you can't move your shoulder and it can't do shoulder things, then why are you shoulder pressing? So again, back to that same thing, like prerequisites. If you don't have any rotation in your hip, you can't move your hip through a certain range of motion, then why are you putting weight on that range of motion? It just doesn't make any sense. And the idea is whether you're desk bound or whether you're a retired basketball player or whatever, like, we lose the ranges of motion that we don't maintain. It's just so simple. Like, someone listening right now, I said this on all the time, but basically, you know, in 40 days, if you didn't put your arm above your head, you won't be able to do that shit anymore. It'll be worse. It'll be 10 degrees less. So the idea of cars is really you're just moving your joints every single day, a few reps, and you maintain your joints, just like brushing your teeth. It's so super simple, and that's one of the things about the student thing that I was talking about. Like, who could deny that? You know what I mean? Like, where's denying that? Like, you're spending 15 minutes a day, you're just moving all your joints. If you don't want to move the ones that you want tomorrow, then you won't be able to move them tomorrow. It's really that simple. Like,
how much is that atrophy and how much is that deterioration?
It's both. It's a mixture of a lot of things. There's the mental capacity of it where the connection is gone and you're not able to recruit those motor units within those ranges of motion. And then there's actual, you know, what you're doing is literally lubricating the joint by moving it. So, you know, it's physical, it's physiological, it's everything. There's everything involved in that. It's an even distribution, I would say.
I mean, I think the biggest one is hip mobility. That's probably the biggest thing lacking. And, you know, I think it's a core in the center of our bodies, especially when we talk about our core. Just, you know, whether it's going to be pulling on the lower back, if that's going to be pulling all the way down to the Achilles and the hamstrings. And, I mean, I see people, you know, just can't rotate that hip, can't get out of cars, or they have to turn around. And they can't just move their leg out. They literally have to turn their bodies in one piece around.
100%.
Hurts me.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Imagine if you had, like, that understanding, like, 20 levels higher from just doing that every day and seeing so many people, and then you're walking around the city seeing all these people, like, knees caving in, foot's collapsing, they're holding 6 bags on one side. It's just a mess all the time. It's hard to ignore.
I can't help. I mean, yeah, I'm a snob. I'm judging in my head, and I'm watching someone walk, and I'm like, yeah, that hurts.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time.
Bad posture.
If it doesn't, it will. It's inevitable.
Bad hips on that one. My girlfriend, I'm like, yeah. She's got a tight Achilles tendon on the right side right there. She's just hurting right there. Not even a club foot. I'm just like, Poor girl right there.
Yeah, and then she's pissed.
Well, she thinks now I'm judging her too.
Well, that's when you come to me and you're like, no, like I suggested it. I didn't say anything was wrong with you, but maybe Ian might just know, you know. So that's it's off of your chest.
But
You
you
don't have
can't
to
help
worry
do
about
that as a coach or a trainer.
yeah, of
and
course.
Once you've done that, you know, because even me as a coach or even times I've trained people, it's like, I mean, you're looking down to, you know, just the little imperfections to get someone, you know, to a faster step.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's with me in basketball. I mean, I'm just literally starting on someone's basics. Let's start with just the jab, step, and shoot. And let's lower any space where there's any imperfection or there's any delay in time, because we got to get that shot off and we're working on timing.
Mm-hmm.
And just jab, back, and shoot. All right, jab, fake, and go. Staying low and staying consistent. So, I mean, you roll those things over back into everyday life and people just don't get it.
Yeah.
It's hard to make it relatable.
It's tough. It is.
And do you work with any professional athletes? And, I mean, they do stuff like this?
Yeah, so I do work with some professional athletes. Probably the most famous one I work with is Noah Syndergaard. He's the pitcher for the Mets.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of online programming for a lot of baseball guys. Have a Wisconsin basketball player, a lot of minor league baseball guys for sure. And they need the same things that we need, honestly. It's really not that big of a difference in terms of that. You know, to a greater degree, for example, like Noah's internal rotation of his hip needs to be a little bit more than someone who's just going to be going for a run, you know, obviously. But they really do the same stuff. Like, for example, like when Noah comes in, he's going to do his cars first 10 minutes. When, you know, the super mom comes in the next time, she's going to do the same cars he did. So it's really scalable, and it's cool too, because like even some of my friends that don't listen, you know, like friends reach out to you as a trainer and they're like, hey, you know, like what should I do? It's like, here, do this. Like, start with this, you know, and then you talk to them 10 days later. I didn't even look at it. Okay, cool. Well, I'm not going to give you anything else. But, you know, like, I'll send them a video and it's like, hey, do you see Noah doing this? You should do it. And they're like, all right, I'm sold. And the next day, 10 days in a row, I did my cars. I'm like, all right, cool, man. Great. Could have just listened to me the first time, but that's cool. So it's funny.
What is I was gonna say, especially with like a guy like Noah, it's a pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's dominant on one side, his legs pretty dominant on one side. How do you deal with, you know, body imperfections and you know, getting people balanced? Because I think that's the biggest thing. I even have that problem, you know, where my right arm's stronger, my left chest is bigger.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've had the herniated disc in the back and the neck, particularly on my left side. So, I mean, even I go take a piss in the bathroom. I mean, I think my left foot's forward, my right foot's turned.
Yeah.
I'm brushing my teeth. I think my whole right side is just closer to the mirror.
Yeah.
I'm just aware of that. So, what can I do? What can people do if they're aware of those?
So there's a really good quote from Dewey Nielsen, who's also big in the FRC system. He's a person who teaches KinStretch at the moment. And it's symmetry is a ghost. So the idea of like ever being perfectly symmetrical it's just never going to happen. The other thing about it is if you actually look at the anatomy of the body and even just look at your organs, they're not even. You know, you don't have two hearts perfectly placed side to side next to each other. So the idea is you're really never going to be completely symmetrical right from the inside. So especially with like if you talk to someone who's like a big PRI guy or something like that, they're really, really into the pelvis, the rib cage, the whole relationship between what you would call your core. And the reality is, like I said, you're never going to be symmetrical. But at the same time, what we want to do is, like I said, reinforcing those asymmetries. For example, like where Noah's going to have that shoulder that can go way far back, right? So that right arm, his external rotation is going to be crazy. If you see a picture like in a like a free shot, you'll be like, wow, that's crazy. So like I need to make sure that he can really get back there, stay strong there, and not get hurt there. At the same time, the other stuff that he's doing is not that. So, like, you would think, like, he would come in and we'd be like, all right, we're going to work on just your right arm. Your left arm is not, it's dead to us. We're not going to do anything with it. But it's really getting them out of those repeated patterns because injuries happen from overuse. So the idea of him coming to a session and me being like, we're going to work on how you walk, how you run, and how you use that opposite shoulder with that opposite hip in terms of not just your right shoulder, but actually your non-throwing hand and then the other hip. Because those hours that he's not throwing, he needs to be doing stuff that will integrate his whole body. Now, like I said, it's never going to be symmetrical, but you can get to a point where you feel really good, you're not getting hurt, and then when you need to unleash the rockets, you go back onto the mound and you're fine, you're letting them go and you don't get hurt. So it's just understanding that you'll never be symmetrical, but also, you know, spending time doing things that are contralateral patterns, but not involving the dominant side too, especially. Like, don't not train that side. That's a bad idea.
Is there like one exercise or something people can do, or it's just literally, hey, look at your body, be aware, touch yourself. Don't take that as a grain of salt. You know, and just be aware of, you know, what you do, how you move. I mean, from brushing your teeth to standing and taking a piss like I do, and just like, oh shit, I'm out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, you know, especially like I said when I brought up the PRI, like there's a guy that I work with at the clinic, and you know, he's a huge PRI fan, and you know, he talks a lot about how you can feel your right big toe and your left heel and vice versa. So like, if I have someone who's constantly standing on their right side, and I know that they're shifting their weight to the right side, I might say, dude, every time you brush your teeth, take your right foot off of the ground, make a nice arch on your left foot, brush your teeth on that side. So something simple like that.
Okay.
But for the most part, it's really you're getting an FRA, which is a functional range assessment. It's just what's your neck being able to do, what's your shoulder being able to, and it's just a huge list of everything. And then there's no more guessing. It's like, this is what you need. This is how we prioritize it. What's your sport? Okay, you need this, this, and this. We're going to start with this. We'll eventually get to that. Let's incorporate all this main stuff for 6 weeks, and then you start working on this little small stuff, like I said, like brushing your teeth on the one foot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really about balance, but you can't guess. You got to just know, like full assessment is the key to everything, you know?
I'm thinking about taking that piss on the one foot with the arch, but that might be tough.
Yeah, man. I mean, well, technically, I would go with the brushing the teeth. I don't know if you're peeing on one foot. That might be a little dangerous.
It's going to be tough,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, yay, it's a progression. There's always a progression.
It's like a fireman with a hose. I'm
Yeah.
just going to hold on and pray for dear life.
Exactly.
And you keep throwing around like a lot of these short acronym words, you know, CARS, KinStretch. We went over CARS, we went over the PRI, and there's another one, KinStretch.
Yep.
What's
So
that one?
KinStretch is, and this is super common because, you know, especially on FRC, it's almost like especially within FRC, which is functional range conditioning.
There we go. I was going to ask that one as well.
So yeah, so that's like the main system that, you know, trainers use, and then there's functional release, which is manual work. So there's the two differences between those. And essentially people see on Instagram, and it's kind of like almost cryptic, but it's really just, you know, the easiest way to explain it is to use the acronym. So imagine you're on Instagram, you're typing out functional range, you know, it's just like FRC, keep it simple. But when KinStretch is essentially just the group application of FRC. So there really is no difference between the two. It's just, if I'm going to teach a class of 15 people, I'm a KinStretch instructor teaching FRC to everybody. If I'm working one-on-one, I'm teaching KinStretch, but it's really FRC, so it's the same thing, you know. And that's really all it is.
Where did this trend of mobility and, you know, people getting a little deeper into what they can do in the gym where did that come from? When do you think that started?
I think injuries, you know, I mean, the injuries have really skyrocketed, especially like you look at something like an ACL tear for soccer players. Like there's all these little classic quotes that you can find and statistics. And
even football players, I mean, and they're all non-contact, which is the craziest thing.
Exactly. It's a perfect word to describe it, non-contact. Like, why are these people getting hurt? So then, you know, you look a little deeper, and that's really where mobility was born. And you know, not all yoga is the same and not all of these other disciplines are the same, but it really comes down to active versus passive. So what I mean by that is if I'm going to stand up right now and I take my hand and I do a classic like dynamic warm-up high knee, right? And I take my hand around my knee and I pull it up to my chest. That's passive. My hip's not working. I'm just passively taking myself up there. Then if I take my hip up there and I let go, and I can keep my hip there, that's me displaying that active range of motion. Or if I was running and I just drive my hip up, going to the next step. So the idea between passive and active is everything, because if you get hurt when you have a passive range of motion, or you are even beyond that. If you own the full range of motion, your chances of not getting hurt there are greatly increased, and that's really what FRC is born on, is owning your active range of motion.
Is that it though? Because I mean, NFL, you mentioned soccer, but I mean it's crazy. I mean, it's ACL tears or, you know, tear. What else can they do to that?
A million things. I mean, it's a oversimplification for sure, but it's a good place to start. Let's put it like that. That's what I would say. I mean, you know, just like I would say for, like we were talking about with the FRA, where you said, what's one thing? Or like my brother's trying to get me to do for our marcotrainingsystems.com to get our marketing down and do the 5 best things you can do for a photographer. And it's just like, I wish I could just tell everybody that's not how shit works. Mm-hmm. There isn't one thing, you know, but like
clickbaity blog post.
Exactly. And like it is what it is. Like, of course we're gonna put it up there, you'll see it soon. But at the same time, you know, like that's just not how it works. So what I would really say is, where I'm talking about owning passive and active, if I was going to say someone with ACL tear, right before that, I would be like, well, what did their FRA say? And I bet their FRA would say, well, he's limited in tibial internal rotation, so his knee doesn't turn inward well. Well, guess what? He just pivoted on that knee that doesn't turn well at the knee. Well, it's tore. There you go.
I think I got a bigger, deeper theory on this. I think it's a little bit deeper. I think that, the way that athletes in general, they're jumping higher, they're running faster. We're able to, train the technology as well as nutrition, and the availability, like you said, about the teachers and the education of whatever sport we're playing is just so much greater. We're making better athletes, stronger athletes, faster athletes, and I just don't think our human bodies have adapted yet to us moving this fast or jumping this high, and I think that also has attributed to a lot of these injuries, so especially with speed.
It's definitely a factor for sure, but I mean that's why mobility training was born, and that's why what we're talking about is so relevant, because if these people have to go that fast, then their brakes have to be that good. And their mobility training, that eccentric is really, exactly how they're going to slow down. So it's all full circle. But for sure, I mean, there's some people that are just, like Odell, man, he's catching a backflip into getting hit from behind, and then he lands with his knee way back further. But at the same time, if he had been training that position and he had that tucked under and he had been doing isometrics there, I'm not saying he wouldn't have been out for the rest of the season, but it would be substantially less as the tissue is able to accept that load more and more.
Yeah, especially when you see people who do stretch and bend to certain positions, and they get it strengthened to a certain extent with the mobility. You wonder why. Even though these guys are in high tense, high pressure situations, that those injuries could even happen, because it does look like it could be preventable.
Yeah.
Or not as bad, excuse me.
No, I mean, I just put up a post last night. I was watching the Rangers game, and Ruffney Odor, he's the second baseman for the Rangers. He caught a ball on the ball was getting thrown to second base. He caught it, and he literally went from half 90, which is a position in KinStretch, and he rolled into almost a full split. He literally held on to the ball. His toe, the tip of the toe, still on second base. He got up, brushed himself off, went back to play. Now, it's the difference. Has he been in that position before? Of course he has. That exact one, yes or no, but he's definitely been working on his mobility.
Yeah.
If he hadn't been, he would have tore his groin. He would be his season would be, you know what I mean? It's just, you can really break it down. The tough part is, how do you prioritize that? That's where it gets tough. And that's another thing that I would say would separate my programming is, because I've done it so often and so much, is the idea of am I really going to need this position? Hey, you come in day one, we're going straight into middle splits. No, not really. You know what I mean? But is it something that we should address? Probably, especially if you're going to try to make that catch. You know what I mean? So it's tough.
I mean, that's probably going to be the toughest thing about, being a teacher, being a trainer, being a coach is, getting your clients or getting the people that are coming in for your help, to buy in and believe in what you're doing, and that it's not going to be built overnight.
100%.
It's going to take a few weeks. It might take a few months in order for you to see those improvements.
For sure. It's just like anything else too. It weeds people out. I mean, I've been super blessed, especially with a lot of the athletes I work with. For example, like you said, no, man. I mean, this dude works so hard. He understands it all. Asks questions. He gets after it, and he does his stuff without me. But that's why he comes in and makes progress. There's other people that don't do anything, and then they come back, and I tell them the same thing. You still need to do this, and it is what it is. And I've had situations where, I think early on in my career it was almost cool to be able to be like, hey, you know what? I don't work with that client anymore because they didn't do their homework. Oh, really cool, man. But at the same time, at a certain point, some people don't do anything. It's just listen, I don't want to run in circles anymore. I need you to step up. I need you to be accountable for yourself. And if not, then, we'll find somewhere else to go. You know? I mean, it's really
well. No one as a trainer wants to be a babysitter, and that's what it comes down to sometimes.
It can. If it's all about your approach, and if you approach it like that, it will be.
But that's the best part is when you find a client, or they could be from a kid to an adult, and who wants to be there, who wants to get better. I mean, I only think that coaches become better because as former athletes too, we thrive on that. Now we both want to be here. I want to get this person better. I want to make sure I'm giving them the full job that they want.
Oh yeah, you get excited for the session. You're like, oh man, I can't wait to do this, and this. I'll text them before. I'll be like, yo, this is what we're going after today. You better be ready. And okay, cool, I'll be there.
I come out there. You see, I got questions here, but I come out there. I come up with like my little notebook. I carry a little journal around.
Yeah.
And I pull it out. All right, we got. What do we got here? We got Kevin today. Oh,
Yeah.
Kevin.
Kevin, you're screwed. Today is going to be hard.
Oh, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got some shit though today.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
pumped for it. I mean, I remember being on the other end though and not being as pumped or excited
Yeah.
about it though. So
It happens.
I can
It
believe it.
definitely happens.
who do you get a little closer in? Yeah, there you go. Just want people to see you.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah. Hey, here we go. Here's a big one. A lot of people ask this one. I know you even put this one up on your page. Integrated, full body integration versus independence.
Yes. Okay, so this is really big, and this is something that is really at the heart of the FRC system, and I would say that it's something that I've really progressed on as of late, especially. And it's a huge example of why you can't get stuck in one system. So, for example, like using FRC and KinStretch will get you so far. It really will. But there's just certain things that it just doesn't do. You know, like it's not made for athletic power and, you know, speed and things like that. It gives you the ability to train those safely and efficiently, and you might even make more progress sooner because you have the right prerequisites. But it doesn't really account for some of those high performance kind of things. Now, at the basis of it, like I talked about with the...
Let me jump in for you real quick.
Yeah.
Give some people who don't know, because we got a lot of trainers and people who
Yeah.
really want to know this topic, but what's an example of full body integration
All right.
and then independence?
Yeah, for sure. So like when I brought up the cars earlier, so controlled articular rotation, just a fancy way of saying joint circles. So the idea of a car, let's just take something really simple like your hip. So the idea is to take your hip through a full range of motion without anything else moving. So the idea of separating or gaining independence of your hip from your spine.
Okay.
So you see a lot of people that are like running and their lower back's all over the place and they're like, yo, I got back pain. It's like, yeah, I know. You just ran 7 miles with your lower back. But you get that independence. You learn how to move your spine. You learn how to move your hips. So there's the independence. That's what you're really doing. And that's really the basis of the system is gaining that independence. But then you have someone with that independence and it's like, all right, now go throw a baseball. You know, and it's like, okay, well, my hip's a hip, my shoulder's a hip, but do my hip and my shoulder talk? And do they integrate well? And that's what I'm talking about when I say full body integration. And there's basically your body works in a lot of different ways, and the ways are endless, and FRC really does a good way of accounting for that. But what it doesn't do is really connect the left hip to the right shoulder and work on like those contralateral. Contralateral just means like opposing, like your body working in an X pattern. You can think about it like that. So that's a really, really crucial thing for people to do. And you think about something like the gait cycle, which is basically you walking. You know, when you walk, one arm swings, the other one swings. If you see someone really dysfunctional, they have like that dead arm off to the side, then all of a sudden that other hip starts swinging around and it just creates dysfunction through their whole body.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of balancing, like, let's get your independence, which is how I treat it. I treat independence as a prerequisite. So it's like, do you have a hip first? Then let's make your hip work really nice with your shoulder. And then things start going together. So it's been a really big journey for me in terms of my progression as a trainer, and it's been really fun. It's been fun to do, and I really like that stuff because it's things like throwing punches. You know, like boom, I drive my hip into my shoulder. Even something like jumping, you know, if you see someone who's a really good athlete and they're doing go to like the Odell Beckham's, Saquon Barkley, stuff like that. Or even Todd Gurley, dude, he's a beast. Like, you see him doing his speed drills. His hands aren't just, like, T-Rexing. They're moving with power, integrating his core to his hips, and just seeing that beautiful movement and how much potential really comes from it. It's just an obvious move. You got to get there.
Do you have a specific video that maybe we could pop up on the screen? We can show people.
You could put the cars up on the screen.
It was on YouTube?
Yeah. You go on YouTube. It's like maybe 10 down, daily mobility routine.
Caleb, you gonna do that? Yeah, can you focus on the screen? Yeah, I think what we're talking about is just, the body's just battle to just have that homeostasis or that symmetry or balance that's looking for.
Yeah.
Like you say, when you're seeing someone come in, with their hip pulling a little bit, and now it's pulling on their back. And, I mean, what's interesting, people with ponytails, I won't just classify that to women, but you watch them walk, and you watch that ponytail, even though they're moving forwards and backwards, arm in arm, that thing's going side to side.
Yeah.
Holy shit,
Yeah,
it's a
it's like
full-on balancing
You're
act.
walking with your neck. I've never even seen that before.
What we're looking for?
So just go YouTube and then Ian Markow, I-N, last name M-A-R-K-O-W, and then it should come up like 6 down. You're going to be able to see it. Say daily mobility routine. And if you just play that, you can just go to you.
Yeah. Could you zoom in on that screen when we go in on that video?
On here?
On that one?
Does it have a zoom on it?
I should.
Yeah, if you just type Ian Markow in the top right there, it'll come right up.
I think audio's going to come out of it.
Oh, no, audio's fine.
Yeah, you don't need audio. You'll be able to see it. I don't know if you maybe that other post that I just put up yesterday on Instagram would be good for them to see too. So if you keep going, see the one right there, third one, daily mobility routine cars. It's got the blue writing. Yeah. So these are the cars right here. So if anybody was listening right now and they're like, where do I start? Like, this is where you start.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, by the end of this, you'll be able to know, especially if you pay attention, you'll be able to know what works and what doesn't. Like, you'll immediately get in and be like, yo, my neck doesn't turn well to the left. Like, there's something I should write down and know. You can be like, all right, well, I have no ability to move my upper back without my hips and my lower back. Well, all right, there's another thing. So you could go through this and assess your whole entire body by yourself. Obviously, it takes some time to really be able to understand the finer details, but it would give you a lot of really good feedback, definitely more so than most people are going to really get. So you can see right here, she's moving her neck. The rest of her body's not moving. Most people, when they do that, their shoulders are all over their place. They're lifting their ribs up. And it's just the idea of just like you were talking. You're running or you're walking, and your neck is going all over the place. That's not supposed to happen. You know what I mean? Like, so it's really a really good place to start. It's really a good basis to really work from, and it'll give you a lot of information. It's a free assessment on YouTube, man. I mean, it's pretty great.
Does the flat brim hat help with the balance at all?
Always, man.
Always.
Yeah. Everybody always. Sometimes people will be like, hey, like, I saw you were wearing a Yankees hat today and you were training Noah. It's like, yeah, he doesn't care. It's cool. I have like 9 different hats, you know? It's just a color. I like it.
I'm working, all right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not my job to be a fan today.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not a fanboy. I'm telling him what to do, you know? He's cool with it.
And you're keeping that flat brim going. I mean, you could pass for a rapper on this.
Oh, always, man. For sure. On the next one, I got my wife beater on.
Guilty. See? I told you. That was our first switch over to that. Thank you, Caleb. Now, where does diet, or even a lot of this biohacking, play into what you think of exercise?
So I think that there's a lot of really important things. I mean, nutrition is obviously really, really important. For me in my career, what I've done is I've kind of got a basic knowledge of nutrition, and I've focused on other avenues, especially mobility and strength and things like this, stress management. And for my company, I have Allison Spungen. She's actually the head of nutrition for Markow Training Systems. So like this month, we're rolling out doing nutritional programming online. So she really leads that. But I mean, it's so important. Most people, if they just kept it simple, like we were talking about joking about the teas earlier, like, dude, if most people just drank more water, like didn't eat a bunch of shit that they know is bad, and then slept a little bit more, like they don't even need to work out that much, and they would make so much progress no matter what their goals are. It's really, it's a simple recipe in my mind.
I mean, my dad, love you, Dad. When I moved back from Kuwait, I was just giving him some pointers, I was worried about his health, and literally just switched over to just, making food for yourself. I did a lot of the cooking for him, and, it's nothing processed. It's just something you can just get out of the fridge. You're cooking it up yourself, or you can put it on the plate. I'm talking about fresh vegetables, a whole food diet. And he's down 60 pounds. Yeah. Lost 60 pounds in 6-7 months.
It's just, it's simple, man. Simple.
Didn't exercise.
It's not processed.
At all.
Exactly. But there's people that are eating shit and then working out 7 days a week, 2 hours a day. It's just like, dude, scale that shit back and spend some time cooking.
But that's the biggest problem. And I think this is also a huge issue with anybody in Like, the doctors have this biggest problem, is that you are reliant, and I think it's different as you as a trainer, but you're reliant on the truth from your client or your patient to come in. Hey, Ian, how you doing today? Okay, your weight's a little high. Your triglyceride count's pretty up there. Your cholesterol's going up. What are you eating? Are you exercising every day? Are you eating, your 5 to 7 servings of vegetables? Oh yeah. So it's 4 PM. Did you already have your vegetables today? No. So when are you going to get those servings then? And when are you going to get that hit? And it just doesn't happen. Now this doctor's reliant. It's a 10-minute doctor visit. There's no way, and there's no space and time for, this person to tell them what to do. And okay, well, here's some prescription pills. I can't deal with you. We're not going to get you any healthier. This is a good Band-Aid for the time being, and you take this home.
The healthcare system's broken on many levels, man. It's
but I think it's a full circle. I don't think the doctors are fully to blame, that where people
not at all.
just aren't there to do that. I mean, that's where it comes as a trainer. Like, people are paying you, whether it's more money to get them in shape. And I mean, they got to be honest with themselves. Like, listen, we're doing this here. I know what I'm doing. I got you on videotape. You're on my YouTube channel. You're here. You're doing this. I don't know what you're doing at home, but that's on you.
Yeah. For sure. Accountability and just being upfront with them. But, I mean, I used to live right by the hospital in the financial district. And, I mean, you walk right by and there's so many nurses that are out there smoking cigarettes, And, like, that's the idea of that is just insane, right? Just, like, the craziness of that. But you can't blame one person. And ultimately, it's the individual because they found their way there, unless it's, like, some, genetic thing or something, like, out of the norm. But they've been living a bad lifestyle, and really the education is what we really need to help people and to let them know simple things like what you just talked about. Don't eat processed food, but at the same time, like, don't you know that by now? You know what I mean? Like, so then it comes down on them. But the whole medication thing is really rough. I mean, it's just, there's a pill for everything, and so many people are taking a pill before trying exercise and healthy eating, and it's sad. It really is, and our society perpetuates it. I'm not saying it's the doctor's fault, but, like, you go on TV and, like, how many commercials are for prescription drugs and stuff, and, like, somehow that little message at the end with all those side effects doesn't scare them. I'm not even taking it. That shit
because
scares me.
there's a butterfly.
It's like, yo,
with gold powder. He's putting you to sleep and hypnotizing you.
I see you in the park, but there's 45 side effects. So, like, I don't know how this matches up. Why are you so happy? So it's tough.
Kidney failure. I mean, that's a huge one with a lot of these pills.
Oh man.
What do you see it? Where do you see it going? Do you think it's ever going to balance out?
I think it will over time, but I think it's a basic evolution too, man. Like, not everybody's going to be the best. Not everybody's going to be healthy. Not everybody's going to live forever. And, like, you got to separate yourself. I mean, you can't be in New York City for 1 month and not realize that. You know what I mean? Like, there's someone on the sidewalk running past you. Like, you got to compete, man. So, like, if you're not doing the things that other people are doing to be healthy, then don't be surprised when you fall behind. And don't be surprised when someone's not going to help you back up. Unfortunately, that's not the case. People aren't really going to make it if they're making the bad decisions. So it kind of weeds them out. And it's a sad reality, but it's also good because competition breeds excellence in my mind, and I think it's important.
What's the number one thing you think's got to change with healthcare?
Just more education, I would say. Just making, like, even things in school. Like, go to a school cafeteria and tell me that those are good meals. Like, you have a lot of kids eating corn dogs. Like, dude, you serious? Like, and there's healthier options that are cheaper. Like, you could have someone eat a can of tuna in water, and they would be better off than eating a corn dog. You know what I mean? Like, just a simple thing.
You're gonna have to eat a lot of tuna to get mercury poisoning. Just to let everybody know out there, you got to eat a lot of that in swordfish.
One can, have some corn on the side. Is it good? No, it doesn't taste that great. But you can make it good if you really wanted to. But at the same time, it's just education and really starting off young, I would say. And for example, like, why not having kids learn how to farm? Why not having kids learn how to grow and garden in school? Like, it's so therapeutic for people that are dealing back to the depression thing. Don't give them a pill. Have them build a garden and then eat their own tomatoes.
And get vitamin D from the sunlight at the same time.
Like, all right, check everything off of that list. Oh, you feel better? Great. How are those tomatoes? They're delicious. I put them in this, and then I learned how to cook. Oh, cool. So you learn more. Great. Like, that's what I would say is education and, like, really starting from the grassroots, just like anything else, like hitting the young kids with it.
Especially with social problems. I think one of our guests, 2 guests ago, Kira Cheers, I mean, she's wrote this whole book about a sex list. I'm going to save you the whole story. She went back, did these photos, interviewed all these girls that one of her former boyfriends had sex with. Really interesting girl, really interesting cat. She has a lot of talk on sex tech and this Generation Z or Y, whatever the one is after us millennials. We don't sound too bad right now. We're not eating Tide Pods.
We're coming up.
We're looking better. We're looking hopeful. That with a lot of, these dating apps, for example, or with social media, it's limiting the amount of face-to-face time we have with other people and the amount of communication and interactions we get to have. So, I mean, like you said, one simple one would be farming. I mean, it's a 7-in-1. hope I can name 7 things right now. You get your vitamin D from the sunlight. You got people doing team building, working together, having conversations, strategizing, taking care of that depression, and they're learning the science and food, where their food's coming from, how it happens, why it grows. I mean, it's a science class in itself.
Yeah, and then the kid gets more interested in science, and then they help, get that future cure that we don't need medicine for. Like it comes full circle. It's so important. Education and taking care of the youth is everything.
What are you working on diet-wise? You got a specific diet?
Dude, my nutrition's not great. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know if you saw me like stiff arm that question real quick. I was like, yeah. So anyway, am I ahead of nutrition? I put up on Instagram like, what are some things? One of them was like the best bagel sandwich in New York. Like, does that sound like the nutrition guy?
Like you said, it's fast food Friday.
But yeah, no, it's not bad. I got a really big love affair with ice cream. Sometimes I'll get on, hitting 5 pints a week of Ben & Jerry's. It's been known to happen.
5 pints.
Dude, I put in work. But, one of the biggest things that I would say about nutrition, and I honestly, truly believe that this is one of the things that helps me be successful, and it's really your reaction to the food. So, like, I don't know if you've ever heard of the book, Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. Phenomenal book, but I see it so often that, like a lot of people that struggle with, nutrition stuff, it's not so much that they're eating crazy or this or that, but like a lot of times when they do make a mistake, it just sits in their stomach in terms of like the stress. They start beating themselves up. Then it becomes a mental thing. The book basically says, like, to really paraphrase it, is, when you have that negative reaction to the food, you're setting off a stress response deep in your gut. And then just everything after that is negative. So
you got me nervous, man. I'm right now trying to pipe down some CBD.
Dude,
I also got this weird thing under my tongue. Really? Yes. Bubble.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's going down, but it came out of nowhere.
They got pills for that, man. Don't worry.
CBD. Shout out.
Grow a couple of tomatoes tomorrow. You're gonna be fucking good.
Green Rose World, dude. CBD oil.
Yeah, but the stress is really the biggest thing, man. People underestimate the effect stress plays, especially in the city, man.
Your water muffin here?
So I'll take a little bit more. We got some more. But yeah, man, some of the especially in the city.
That CBD is just gonna sit there for another 30-45 minutes.
Be chilling.
I taste that. Shout out to Green Rose World. Danny and Matt, love you guys. I think there's another book, Dr. David Perlmutter, Grain Brain. He is a heart or brain surgeon, and he wrote an incredible book detailing, what inflammation, especially from food. I mean, people don't realize, sitting in these chairs, I think it's something you work on with atrophy, but we develop inflammation in any way. Consuming a meal is inflammation on your body, from the cellular level to your brains to your heart itself. And he goes into, grain in particular being a heavy, heavy, heavy hitter of inflammation. And I think you were just going off it right here, talking about what certain foods do to certain people. Because, people you hang around with, it's like, lactose intolerant, people who are just cannot handle dairy, and watching what it does and that natural occur of inflammation. How can people be, better educate themselves in inflammation or, understanding of the reaction to foods?
Well, if you're in New York City, you go straight to Fabian Garcia, DPD, who's like my mentor and is the clinic that I work out of. I mean, it's funny because, I send people to him and they're like, I have hip pain. And he's like, all right, cool, let's look at your gut. He's like on a whole nother level with this. So like, if you're in New York City, that's what you should do. But on top of that, I would just go into the same thing, education. Like, you should be learning about it. Getting your blood tested, all those things are really good markers. You can just get as much information about yourself as possible, then put together a really educated plan is what I would say for sure. And keeping it simple too is smart. Like you said, like, dude, 3 days in a row I drank wine and my face swelled up. Like, all right, well, maybe switch away from the wine a little bit, see how that goes. There's little simple things like you said, biohacks. Sometimes a biohack doesn't have to be that brand new product. It could just be something super simple that you have to change up a little bit. What's like
what do you want to say, like the new discovery or new thing that's coming out, whether it's, with like us looking at the gut, for example, be one of them. What's like your most interesting one that you're really looking into? Could even be an exercise.
Yeah, I don't really know right now. I mean, for me, that's kind of what I've been working on is more of the total body integration and that kind of thing. And I've been looking into a lot of like training the way people walk. That's one of the big things I've been working on.
Dude, it's hard watching people run sometimes. And
It
just
is.
like
That
you don't
running
see
too.
them pick up that foot and then step all the way down and lift
Yeah.
that hip. And again, I'm not mocking people, but it's like that's painful. I mean, your hip, your back is pulling on that now because you're not lifting that knee all the way up.
Yeah, it's tough. There's a certain,
And again, I've been in pain, so I'm not knocking people. It hurts.
I think a lot of people think of running as something, like I said with the warm up, I'm just gonna go run on the treadmill first. But like, there's prerequisites to running. Like you can't just run, especially on the pavement, dude. You're running on the pavement, just pounding on your joints repeatedly. Injuries come from, freak things like the ACL, but they also come from, overuse, and that's exactly what running can lead to if you're not doing it properly. So that's a really good example of that for sure. But in terms of like groundbreaking, honestly, I almost try to stay away from that stuff in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not too much of the biohacker. I like to keep it simple. I like everything to be scientific. I'm not on the cutting edge. If something, proves itself and it's around long enough and, I'm hearing enough about it, then I'll definitely look into it. But, I keep things pretty simple, man, for sure.
Well, the gut one's just really fascinating
Yeah.
to see, how about people have just like either destroyed it, with antibiotics. I mean, this thing, again, it's that balancing act of just society or, reality itself. Like, oh, well, we've had this thing that's literally been one of the greatest markers for human beings to live longer and be healthier. It literally stopped and prevented everybody from getting sick. And like, oh, wow, this is the greatest thing. It's not going to, there's nothing bad that could come from this at all. So everybody take them, and we take them for, about 100 years, I think antibiotics have been running around. And now, they brag about these, I wouldn't say, evolutionary biologists or they're pretty satanic, not cynic? What's the word, the real negative, pessimistic, or I don't know, satanic, but they're like very, 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 very out there on like, oh man, there's this new bacterial disease that has no antibiotics that can fight it, and it's out there and people catch it, like in the hospital. Someone goes in for a regular surgery and they come out with half their gut just having to be pulled out or their leg getting amputated because this bacterial disease just eats away at their body. And that's like the next step. And everybody's like, all these scientists are saying like, no, we're screwed. Like there's some that we're not going to be able to take down.
Fear really does drive a lot of the industry, man. It really does, and that's kind of ironic, like we were talking about with those side effects. Like everybody's so scared of something, so that they're like reaching out and they're willing to jump on board with some of these things that are out there. But then like they don't get scared of the side effects of it either, too. It's a balancing act. But like I said, I've been really fortunate to work with people. One of the things that I am a pretty strong believer in is like, you can't spread yourself too thin. So the idea of me being an expert on everything is almost foolish because then it'll take away from the things that I do want to be an expert on. And I fell into like working with the best physical therapist, in my opinion, in the city. So like some of this stuff is like, like he's so good at that. I'm like, just see him, skip the whole process of me like slowly taking along, just get there right away. Like sometimes I'll see someone twice and like it'll be like, all right, you changed my life immediately. I'm like, all right, cool, let's get right back to it. So, and then the same thing with nutrition, like when someone really, really wants to get after it and they want a meal plan or something, like I'm outsourcing that because it's just not my number one thing that I do. And I'm, it's easy to admit that because that's what works. And when that person's happy and they come back to me and they're like, yo, that really helped, and great, that's what I wanted anyway. It doesn't have to be me to be the one to do it.
Do you have any thoughts on the ketogenic diet?
It's interesting. It's a really interesting one. I know a lot of the athletes that I've worked with have definitely either tried it or been doing it. Some of it sounds great, man, like avocado all the time, like some of that stuff. Like I love avocado, but I think it's just like any other diet and nutrition that it works for some people. And then some people it just doesn't work for. It is very specific in terms of where you have to be, in ketosis or whatever for it really to work. So the idea of like, 3 days a week I was really good. And then on the weekend, I just went ham. It's like, then your whole week is just like a ton of fat, and then that doesn't work for someone for sure. And I've seen that a lot where people like for 4 weeks, they were like, yeah, I killed her 5 days in a row really good. They got themselves to where they needed to go, and then that weekend. So, like, if you're a weekend warrior, that's the last thing I would suggest for you is to go keto. Keto, it's just bad.
Well, as people don't realize is it's the cholesterol. But I mean, cholesterol is not actually that, demon that we've been taught that it is. I mean, it's one of the building blocks for testosterone and even sexual hormones in women, estrogen and proestrogen. So, I mean, wow, that's the craziest thing I learned from the Grain Brain book is that, we're repressing, people, their body creating cholesterol or cholesterol in our diets, yet we're selling, statins or anti-cholesterol medicine. And then what company is that? I think it's
crazy.
Pfizer. So Pfizer sells Lipitor is number one, their number one selling drug, and then they sell their number two selling drug is Viagra. So they're repressing something and selling something for you to boost it back up.
Yeah, it's wild.
Just destroying your
wild.
endocrine system and your body itself.
Don't do drugs, kids. That's it.
Drugs are drugs.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's full circle.
But again, back to the ketosis is that, your triglyceride count gets too high from the consuming cholesterol, because, I mean, you're going to be eating fatty foods with high saturated fats, and especially if you're not exercising. I mean, you're going to hurt yourself. You're going to be doing damage to your heart or even the valves near your heart.
Yeah. And that's just not sustainable after a while. But if you're going to do it really well and, like, you have a certain type of body type, some people react really well to it. And, it's the best move for them. But not everybody's the same. So you just got to, if you want to give it a try, maybe give it a try. But what I would say is, like I said, if you're someone who has those 2 or 3 days on the weekend that are really bad, keto's probably not the move for you.
I mean, unless you're going, fasting, through all those crazy times, you're still just drinking that vodka or tequila with some club soda on ice, and that's it for the weekend. I mean, you could be a warrior.
Yeah, I guess. But
you're going to do some damage to your organs like that.
It's like you're really skinny now, but you also have organ failure. That might not be the move.
What is like one of the crazier trends? I mean, we talked about a few, like the World Star trainers or the bubble teas, but which one you're just like, fuck.
Man, those are pretty bad. I think the waist trainer's really bad. I hate the waist trainer.
What's that?
So essentially, especially in the bodybuilding culture, especially on Instagram. So the idea is, like, when you're competing, you want to be as wide as you can in the shoulders and your lats, like armpits to shoulder.
Oh man, yes.
And then you want to be as thin as you can in your waist. So what people do is they wear these, like, corsets almost, right? So you have a guy who puts on a corset and gets on the Stairmaster for an hour. The thing is, one of the most dysfunctional things with people nowadays anyway is their breathing. So, like, you're suffocating yourself, not allowing yourself to really breathe, and then you go do something like cardio for an hour, which requires you to breathe efficiently in order to complete it. So that's one of the things that I hate the most, and it just doesn't make sense to me. I honestly, it just doesn't. That the fact that you would just squeeze that in, it's like spot reducing. So, like, the myth about, I'm going to do a lot of biceps because I have fat arms, and next week, my arms are going to be thin. It doesn't work like that. You can't just work out one muscle and all of a sudden the fat around that area goes away. That would be my least favorite one. I hate that so much.
No, but a lot of people look towards, bodybuilders or people that compete in competitions as, that's healthy, or I need to talk to this guy to do that. And I mean, I don't think a lot of those guys suggest, like, hey, listen, like, unless you want to be in this competition and I'm training to look in a certain figure or a certain, like, cut, like, you should not do this. It's really, really, really unhealthy.
But nobody says that.
No one says
because
that.
They have to sell their coupon code, just like we would sell a really good product, right? Like stick mobility. I love that. That's great, but those things work, you know what I mean? And they don't hurt people. So it's like, just put that out there. But these people are putting their coupon code on the waist trainer. And they are saying that. They're saying, look how I look. This is how I got there. You can too. Get this waist trainer. You'll even get 10% off. And it's like, you're really hurting that person. You know what I mean? It's wild, Depends how high up in the company they are.
Now, you moved up to New York how long ago? How long have you been up here?
About 4 years ago.
4 years ago. I thought it was longer than that.
Maybe close to 5.
And did you start your own business in terms of being a trainer?
So I was when I first got here, I didn't have a job. I came here and I was going to be in sales, and I went to a job that was through a friend of a friend, and I didn't get the job. So then I had, like, I don't know, maybe $2,000 left. So maybe I had like a month or two of rent, and I was like ready to just I was only on the peanut butter and jelly diet, like 100%.
Mm.
So then I eventually kind of found a gym, got a free membership there for a month, like took advantage of a deal. And I was in there, and like all of a sudden someone was like, hey, you know, you look like a trainer. Do you want a job? And I was like, wow, this is crazy. This must not be a great place. So then I'm like, am I really that qualified? All I have on is my wife beater, you know? So anyway, I just started working at Crunch, and it just became my passion. I really loved it. I just was one of those people that got super lucky and just fell into what they were meant to do. So I was at Crunch for a couple of years, and just the whole like grind of like you having your boss like, yo, sell this person this many sessions, give them a discount so you get paid less, but we make more this month so that we can hit our sales goal. It's nuts. It's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So like after a couple of years of that, I ended up at Goldman Sachs working in the gym there, which is really great. You know, it was way more chill, not a lot of pressure, but like I met some really cool people. Some of my clients today are still from Goldman. Really good advice. You know, obviously some smart people to talk to in between. You know what I mean? Like my credit score immediately flew up as soon as I started working at Goldman. Right? But then like, you know, after that, it was kind of like there's a ceiling. And I think, you know, especially really anywhere, I think a ceiling is the worst thing that you can have at your job, because it just, when you know you can't go up, it's just so demotivating. And I hit a ceiling there, where I kind of looked at my boss and I was like, I don't want your job. And I was just like, I got to get out of here. So then I actually looked up, I had an injury, and I looked up on our find a provider spot of the FRC website. And I found Fabian, who's my mentor now and the physical therapist who I work out of his clinic. And I hit him up, and I went there, and as I was there, he was like, yo, you know, do you want to work here? And I was like, yeah, for sure. And I just kind of built out there, and eventually it was enough to really be allowed to really kind of do my own thing after I built our relationship. And I just owe my life to the guy, but I've been able to really build my business from there. And then I started thinking to myself, like, listen, are you really going to want to, you know, if you want to make enough money, you got to really be there in person as a trainer. And that's a problem. So like, how do you make money when you're not there in person? And then that's where I started really putting a big emphasis on my Instagram, which is what a lot of people should be doing. And I think that they don't. You know, there's so many trainers out there that are working like 10-hour days and like not putting any effort into their long-term growth. So like once I did that, started growing Instagram, then I started doing online programming. Now I have, tomorrow, Elite Video membership is launching. I have, you know, sports-specific programming coming. We have the nutrition. So like all these things are coming together, and it's really, and then I'm also traveling now and doing the workshops.
I saw you got one in Dublin coming up, another in Hawaii.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome, man. Man, what a cool thing to do, you know? Mm-hmm. And the coolest part about it is like, I literally just like, I'll turn to my girlfriend and be like, where do you want to go? And she's like, I want to go to Hawaii. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'll just look up on the provider sheet or on Instagram, find someone in Hawaii that I know or that's following me. Like, yo, you want to host a workshop? Yeah. All right, cool. Let's set it up. Have my brother put on the website and just start promoting it. It's really that simple. And like the idea of so many people are out there that would want to do the same thing, but they're just scared, or they think they're going to fail, or it's not going to work. And just to be able to do that, and you know, I've always wanted to go to Australia, and I just did the exact same thing for Australia, and I ended up going there. I had, you know, plenty of people to come to the workshop. It was a great time. I got to travel at the same time. I mean, you know all about traveling. It's just,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Getting perspective is everything. Like even like we were talking about earlier with like the kids and how to fix the healthcare and all that. I think traveling is such a high priority, and it's unfortunate that it costs so much in so many ways, but getting that perspective, even like one of the shows that I just mowed out on Hulu was called Hate Thy Neighbor. It's a Viceland show. It's a comedian named Jamali, and he basically goes to the worst places. So like these people are the most hateful people in the world. So they go to like New Orleans, and it'll be like following the Christian hate group. And he'll stand with them and like talk to them. And
I think I've seen it.
And it's just the perspective you get from a show like that or from traveling. It's just priceless. It pays for itself 10 times over. So I've been super fortunate to do that. And I mean, traveling, as I'm sure you've done many times, is something I would encourage for everybody and everybody.
I can't wait to get on the road again.
Yeah, man, you getting stir crazy.
Just being in the city, man. It's been intimidating.
Yeah.
You know, working on a passion project like I had with this with the show, South America. Realized yesterday, like, man, I became like a dad, man. Like I'm just like working, making sure this bus is well maintained, everybody's happy on the bus, that we gotta do this and do X and Y, Z. And like, oh man, I'm like a dad. I'm like an old man. Like I don't like this part of me. I gotta get back to me. And you know, I think the best thing that did that was just getting into a lift line and just listening to conversations, having conversations with people. And because the city can be intimidating when you go to a co-working space or you go off and you see, you know, I think it's just like a problem with any athlete or former athlete. You know, we look at our surroundings and these people, we treat everybody as a competition. And like, oh man, if this person's doing this and their success, my success should be measured right there with them.
Yeah.
And, even though we're at two different places of space and time, I think that's how it should be. And I think that's why it should be. But, you know, taking that step back and, you know, just being grateful that this is the thing that I get to do, is the thing I do get to work on, and I'm passionate, I love it. That should be, you know, the thing I'm focused on, and, you know, building everything out of that and growing from there. But
100%. Passion's everything, man.
It's tough
to
get
I
out of
feel
your
so
head.
bad for, you know, some of the people I work with. I mean, they're so rich, you know what I mean? They've worked so hard to get where they are, but they just don't enjoy their job. And like, at what point is that really it's just not worth it to me at all, you know? And it's also tough because finding your passion is not easy. You know what I mean? Like, think about how many people are in college with a degree. They're paying so much for this degree that they're not even going to use. They're not going to do. Not that the degree's not worth it, but they just might end up doing something completely different, you know? And it doesn't even make it a waste of time. It's just a matter of, I feel bad for the people that haven't found their passion in life.
well, we have to spend those developmental years in this institution to pay to be in this institution, because we're told this is what society and life is all about. And if you get this, you're going to be provided a job. But I mean, I have a whole spiel. I'm sure I said it before on the show. I mean, you know, what we train people in schools is basically just the same imprint image of what life's going to be like. You know, okay, you have a teacher who's basically going to be called your manager. You're going to be in an office with 20 to 40 people, and then if you get a C, you know, that's going to get you $20,000 to $25,000 a year. B's 35 to 40. If you get that A, you know, maybe it's 50 grand plus, you know, but you got to ride that A all the way through, and you can't do more than your teacher because you can't expand past them. And if you do expand past them, well, you might get fired, or they might not like you, and you might get demoted back down. You might not make the money you think that your talent's worth, or, well, now your talent's not actually worth that. That's only worth a D job now, because we can't find something, you didn't get the right skills and talent to go off and learn to be in that field. And then maybe that's an age that somebody should be traveling. Maybe that's the time that they should be out, going off and exploring and, you know, learning new skills that they can take to be the person they want to be, or the person that can properly contribute to society.
Agreed.
Gotta get on the road. Just take a backpack, take your Jack Kerouac, The Road. You read that book?
No.
Oh yeah, you're gonna want to drop everything
and learn a language, man. That's one thing I really regret.
Or Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Tom Wolfe. It's about Ken Casey. He's the author of what book did he write? One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, okay.
And he took the school bus, painted it up, just drove around the U.S. around the '60s, just doing a bunch of LSD and different drugs and all these different situations. Had a house in California, merging these two different social groups like the Hells Angels and hippies, and they're all partying together and interacting together, and just pulling pranks all around the country. And
nice.
Really, really, really interesting story, interesting book.
Sounds like a good time.
Another one that'll just make you say, just go buy a school bus and just travel, pull pranks on people.
Hey, it's
contagious.
It works out, right?
Guilty.
Proof.
What has been the biggest obstacle? Again, we're going on business and
obstacle,
managing a business and managing this.
Definitely not getting overwhelmed, for sure. Especially like being a business owner, man. Oh, it's just like the list is so long. Like,
doesn't end.
I realized a long time ago that your list will never be empty. So like, there's never gonna be that time where you wake up on Sunday, you're like, nothing could be done for the business. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't happen. Because if that does happen, then your business is stagnant and you're not moving forward, in my opinion. Like, so that and just not getting overwhelmed, but learning how to delegate too. Like I said, like, I could have totally went out and like got a degree in nutrition, but it's like, dude, then you're not gonna be able to do this and you're not gonna be able to do that. So, and even learning about business, I think a lot of people, you know, especially for me, like being a trainer and having people listen to their trainers, like I said about the Instagram, like they don't want to even go into that business stuff. I'm a trainer, I don't do that. But it's like, dude, do you want to be successful? Like, this is part of it, and it really is that important. But especially in the city, like there's like you said, it's tough, it's busy, there's someone running next to you. There's city bikes going the wrong way on the street. Like, it's crazy, man. But like, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. And if you do get frustrated, stressed out, or have any negative impact about that stimulation, like, you're going to take a step in the wrong way. So like, any negativity is time wasted. I'm a huge believer in that, for sure.
When did you start doing working on Instagram and building a social following? And where was I going to go with this? No, lost that last
It's
one.
probably been about 2 years. 2 years of like really religiously going at it. I mean, in college, I was on Instagram, but more as like a college kid. Me and my boy Brent, we would used to always like mess back and forth and be like, yo, I got more. We both had like 167. We're like, yo, I'm gonna get more followers than you this week. And we'd like put up a meme, get like 11 likes, and be like, yo, I got 11. And then he would like mine and be like, yo, I got 12 now. So like, it's been a while. It's especially in terms of like really getting after it. I'd say around 2 years. Consistency is key, man. It's big, but there's a lot of little things that you can do to really, help yourself. And like I said, especially if you're a trainer, like building towards your future and realizing that you're not going to be able to work 10 hours a day training. Not like I'm hitting lat pull downs every session, but like just being on your feet and constantly doing that. And, when a lot of people go on paid vacation, you're not really going on paid vacation, so like, it's something that needs to be done, in my opinion, especially long term if you want to be successful in the business.
Mm-hmm. What's been like the number one thing? I mean, you talked about consistency, but what do you think about content? Should the content speak for itself, or is there different tools that people can be targeting, to build that reach, to build
Definitely.
that following?
I got a lot of them. I actually did a mentorship group on Facebook. So I basically, had like a lot of people all over the world, trainers, physical therapists, and they, I took them through what I do training wise, but I also did business wise. So like, one of the main things is like people have this whole like imposter syndrome, where it's just like, oh, someone's already did that, I can't do it. And it's like, dude, you do a glute bridge or a plank and you put it out there. A certain amount of people see it, so you get one follower from it that's moving in the right direction. You didn't put that up, you didn't move forward. So like, the idea that you're really like need to come up with this groundbreaking material every 10 seconds is just so unrealistic, and it's not going to happen. So consistency and just not overthinking it is like the first two things that I would say. The other thing is like strategically listening to the algorithm. For example, the algorithm just changed big time on Instagram. Like, that's something that you can just YouTube, new Instagram album or algorithm, like what's new about it. So like something as simple as, you're putting 45 hashtags on your post, and you're getting shadow banned for that. You put it down to 17 now, and you're better, or you can even mess around with that. One of the things that I've done, especially with the workshops, is like I go on Dublin FitFam, Dublin Fitness, Irish CrossFit, and I'll just murk everybody with likes, Yeah. And they go, who's this random guy with this backwards hat liking my shit? And then they go on, they're like, oh, it's a cool looking mobility exercise.
It's a white beater, yeah.
Let me follow him. Yeah, exactly. All right, cool. And then they're following me. Next thing I know, they're at my workshop. You know what I mean? So like something simple like that, people wouldn't think about that, but like you're sitting on your phone anyway mindlessly. Like, why not just hit a couple of likes here and there? And that's been a really big thing for me. I'm not one of the people that goes on there and does like the fake, like it'll be a picture of someone running and it'll be like, great pitch. And it's like,
I can't stand
like
those.
That's not me, but like I'll like your stuff.
Great content.
Like, cool.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, like, I'm not doing the fake stuff like that, but I'm out there like, throw you a little like for support.
Well, especially, I think engaging and throwing a conversation in there under someone's, like, if someone saw me do those hex bar deadlifts today on my post,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, someone saying to me, yeah, that back, watch that spine, because
Yeah.
like I got the herniated disc and the back naturally bulges. I don't have that pain anymore, but I know it's still a problem. So it's like, right away.
Yeah.
Really comment back, but that's a whole discussion. It's a conversation. People don't realize the engagement, whether it's just a like or a comment under anybody's post, photo, video, helps the reach and expansion that someone else is going to see that. So
it's tough too. The engagement's hard, man. Sometimes it feels so fake to me. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, Fit Fam, what are you guys doing today? I just can't even do it. Can't do that. But then, there's other times where I've kind of felt more genuine about it and put it out there, and it really does work. But like the idea that you're looking for engagement and trying to use that is crucial, 100%. It can't be denied. Like statistically, that's important. And building that connection with your following is important. One of the new things about the algorithm supposedly is how fast you comment back. So if someone says hey, what's the name of this exercise? And then like 3 days later, you're like, trap bar deadlift.
Done.
But like that, supposedly, like that puts you in less visibility for your followers. So if you 5 minutes later go trap bar deadlift, then the next amount of people will see your post. So like there's a statistic that on the video that I saw, it said as much as like 90% of your following you could get it, they'll hide it from them, your post. So it's like, that's crazy. Like if you're not taking advantage of that, you could like really be shooting yourself in the foot. So like these little things like that, and
fucking assholes.
Yeah, exactly. Which is terrible, right? But it's really as simple as like, you have to stay educated, and the internet's easy, dude. Next time you take a piss,
turn my notifications back on.
Yeah, next time you take a piss, sit down, fucking look it up and see what the deal is. Like, maybe you watch that video, it takes 5 minutes, you change a few things, and your following is like really increasing. You know.
So you do take your phone to the bathroom
all the time, man.
Yeah,
I have to.
I was guilty of that. A girl asked me that. I was on her podcast.
What's the other option? You have like a spot in your house that you're like, I'm gonna go pee. Let me put my phone here. You know, like
there's a couch.
Yeah.
There's a coffee table.
Okay, so here, you know, like what I mean. Like you're just gonna leave it.
You guys don't look like you're gonna steal a phone, do you?
I don't know. I just don't think that that's working everywhere, you know? There's multiple scenarios we can come up with that's not a move. I'll keep it in my pocket for you next time. I got you.
All right. So really, the best bagel sandwich.
Best bagel sandwich. Leo's Bagels, Financial District. You
right
guys,
down there. I've been
you
to that
guys should be hitting it.
Dude, you get the shimmy?
No, I go whole wheat everything.
I thought
Toasted.
they might have named the shimmy after me.
Unfortunately, I don't think it's true. Is it possible?
It's what I would get on a sandwich, too. That's why.
Oh, okay.
That's why.
So they knew you were coming. But yeah, Leo's, man. Whole wheat everything bagel, toasted, avocado, eggs, pepper jack cheese.
Did you get one yet today? We can go get one.
I got one over by my house, which isn't the best place. There's also Thompson Bagels over by the park. Thompson Square Park is good. They got something over there with like a chorizo on it. Oh man, that's really good.
Thompson Square. I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, those are good though. Those would be my top 2 picks, man. But there's some really good ones. You know, one of my pet peeves is, and hopefully I hope my family members somehow listen to this that do this, but they'll come from Boston and they'll literally be like right next to Leo's, staying here, and they'll go to Dunkin' Donuts, and I'm like, yo,
yeah,
it's like blasphemy. You
etiquette.
Know what I mean?
It's just etiquette.
Like, come on,
have some class.
The bagels are good there. It's like, no, I mean, even if they are, it's just, you know, and they'll get like the egg there, like they microwaved it. You know, like come on.
If I
unfortunate. It's
find
really
myself
unfortunate.
in a Dunkin' Donuts and I am getting a sandwich, I will not get an egg. McDonald's, I will not get the egg.
Yeah.
It's not an egg.
No, it's not.
It's not just that it's not cooked properly. It's not an egg.
Unless it's like leftover Chinese food, I'm not microwaving.
Granted, the sausage is probably probably not meat either.
Yeah, no.
But it's closer.
It's a little tough.
It's closer.
A little tough on the sausage. I just don't go in there, period. You know, like even, I mean, at this point, I've been in New York too long, you know, maybe I'm getting into a little bit of a snob, but like, I need my cold brew, I need my coffee that I overpay for probably, but you know what, like, it is what it is.
I've become such a cheapskate asshole and a coffee snob and know about coffee. I just carry the instant around.
Yeah?
Just carry the Cafe Bustelo instant. They got an instant, by the way. It's in the backpack, so I keep pointing over there.
I gotta have. I actually enjoy the process of going though. So like you know, like we were talking about earlier, the gardening. You know, you get the light, right? So you wake up, have a little bit of water, take a walk to the coffee.
And Himalayan pink salt.
Yeah, I mean, sure if you want, you know. And then you get some sun when you're on the way there. You're moving, you're breathing. You know, get take a couple of nice breaths in the morning with a little bit of focus. And all of a sudden you walk, you get your coffee. It's a nice situation. I'm into it.
If I ever need to make sure that something's okay, I'm gonna call you because you really know how to justify things.
I can. That's my job. I'm ultimate justifier.
Ian, I need help. Yeah, I'm not sure if I should do something. All right, Brandon. Let's talk about this.
How many scenarios do you want that'll make it okay?
Listen, he's more than just a trainer.
Just make sure you don't take your phone to the bathroom.
It's phone to the bathrooms, 5 pints of ice cream. He'll find a way that's okay.
Make sure you say per week because 5 in a day is a little excessive.
Scratch that.
Yeah.
This is my biggest problem. Oh, I'd like to know what you do with this. Vegging out, you know, where you just, for an example, you know, someone could just throw on just like a TV show or just something dumb or go do something that just completely away from what they normally do, whether it's work or, you know, pleasure. It's just something that's just dumb or simple. You got something like that?
Oh, every day, man. I do this shit every day. If you name a show right now, the chances that I've mowed it at an extremely fast pace is incredible. It's unbelievable.
Well, this one's obvious, but how many times have you watched all 3 seasons of Rick and Morty? Because, like, no one just watches them just 1 through and 7 away.
Every episode 4 times without fail, 100%. Office, every episode twice, easily. Maybe 3 times.
How many seasons of that is that? Right?
There's a lot. about 8. But I love it, man. I can't get enough of Michael. He's so stupid. Some people hate it. I love it. But Rick and Morty, Family Guy, I've seen every episode. To me, that's really important, you know, like especially being in New York. Like I love my room. I love my apartment. I love going there and just disconnecting. It's so crucial. My mom's always been a big fan of that. You know, she's she's a nurse, or she started off as a nurse, and now she's in quality management at Boca Raton Community. But, like, you know, when you're someone who's passionate about what you do and you put your heart into it and you go hard all day, like when I'm with my clients, I'm really on it. I really am caring about the outcome. So, like, when I get home, I need to disconnect and I need that time. So, I'm all about that, man. That would definitely be high on my specialty list, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I need to do it more. I'm so bad.
Yeah, you have to, man.
I want to grind and work like 10, 12 hours just.
You have to.
With a list, like
if
we
you
talked
never
about business.
recharge, man, you know, like you're not going to be good for the next day. You gotta de-stress. You gotta get out there. Everybody's got their own way of doing it. You know, you don't have to necessarily watch a TV show. That's what works for me. Sometimes I'll just go on and whoop people in video games. Like I'm still old. I'll still do that. I'll get on there, NBA 2K. I'll have our boy Colby come over. 5 games in a row.
Do you guys play FIFA?
I haven't had FIFA in a couple of years, man. I'd like to get back to it.
But even if you had the old one, it's so good.
Yeah, I always, you know, I always turn it in for like $4.50 and then get my next one, you know, when you go by the next year.
I have not owned a console since college, so.
Yeah, I'm.
No, even to 2014, I think my last one. I think I need more vegging in my life.
Well, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't. If there was something I would suggest, is not start doing video games. You know, I think that's something that most people should give up. I'm still hanging in there, you know. So, but. I like to get on the...
Don't be selfish. Don't justify this selfishness right here. That's what you're doing right now.
Yeah, that's what I do.
I might want to get the video game
I
thing
just
again.
might, dude. Yeah.
What Xbox are they on now?
I'm on PS3.
12?
PS3.
8?
I think it's 3.
9?
I think it's 3. PS3. Yeah. That's what I'm on.
Like I said, I've been so out of the loop. I'm just not doing what the kids are doing.
Honestly,
they're tucking in their shirts. I keep saying it. I don't know why people tuck their shirts in if they're not, you know, wearing fancy clothes or, you know, they're playing a sporting event.
You won't catch me with my shirt tucked in.
When did that start?
If I can go to the wedding with like sneakers on, I'm there with sneakers. So it makes sense. Outfits make sense, but I'm probably having sneakers on. Last one I went to, they had Vans for the brides and the groomsmen. So I was like, all right, cool, I can wear sneakers. You know, that was like my right to calling for it.
Ian Markow, thank you very much.
Yeah.
This is probably one of our more in-depth conversations we've ever had. I learned a lot from you.
It is. I learned a lot from you, too.
I'm glad we got to fill in a lot of people and, you know, what it is that you do that's so special, unique, from people that follow you to our listeners who may not even know that much about you. And maybe if you can plug yourself right now, let people know where they can find you, what they can do to come connect with you.
So I'm in New York City, 35th and 8th. Instagram every single day at Ian Markow. YouTube has a ton of free stuff on it. We just put up where I would the daily mobility routine. That's where I would start for you guys. And then tomorrow we actually are launching our Elite Video membership, which is going to be some really, really high-level content, whether it's workshops. There'll be full KinStretch classes on there, and that's going to be found at markowtrainingsystems.com. And just keep putting up new stuff there. I'll be traveling all over, so I'm going to be in Dublin soon. I'm going to be in New York in October. There'll be a workshop, and then I'm also going to Hawaii in February. So, yeah, man, anybody can feel free to message me and hit me up if you ever have any questions about any of this stuff.
Excellent. Guys, check out his stuff. There will be an off-the-bus adventure coming.
Yes.
We're planning on that.
Nice.
How we're going to wing that.
Let's do it.
Coming out there, or again, that's post-production. That's down the line. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to the show. New listeners to the show, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Yeah, you got to listen to my whole spiel right now.
Yeah, let's do it.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button. All those listeners who keep coming back, thank you guys so much. And make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. If you love this show, new, old, leave us a 5-star review. Thank you for everybody who's done it. We're about 80-something right now. That helps people find the show. We're talking about algorithms. Leave a review, write a review. It really helps people find this show and connect with us on the show. And guys, go check out our YouTube channel. You can go check out all these off-the-bus adventures. We got one coming this weekend with Kira Cheers. We got the Save the Dina Tour episodes still coming out. There's going to be an On the Bus podcast on our YouTube page. Go check out this live episode we did with Ian. If you're listening to it, you can see some of the videos, some of the things we talked about in person. And I know I'm short on time. We got Green Roads World. Bam. Right there. delicious CBD oil. Use promo code on the bus and get yourself 15% discount. The code is still active. It's still on. I'm ordering myself some yesterday. Their stuff's the greatest for dealing with inflammation. A lot of stuff we talked about on the show. And if you shop on Amazon, go use our portal over at onthebuspodcast.com, that Amazon portal. Shop on Amazon, right? Yeah, go shop through the portal. Support the podcast.
Hey.
You love the podcast. It's everybody's favorite show.
We all do.
Thank you, everybody who's done that. You've really helped us get to where we are today. Really appreciate that. And I think that's it. Ian Markow. Go check him out. Ian Markow on Instagram. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bust it out.
This is the move for those who